Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I welcome all of you to His Holiness Chandramauli Swami daily class. And today Maharaj will continue on Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, which is Remembrance of Lord Krishna, and verse 5, which is continuation of Uddhava and Vidura discussion. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, glories to Prabhupada.
With your permission, Maharaj, I will like to share this verse.
Continue.
Thank you, Maharaj. Over to you,
Gauranga.
Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ulakodina Sarvango Muncha Milandrisa Suchaha. Purnarto Lakshitastena Sneha Prasara Samplutaha. Translation. It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental body changes due to total ecstasy. And he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus, Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. The symptoms of the highest order of devotional life were observed by Vidura, an experienced devotee of the Lord, and he confirmed Uddhava's perfectional stage of love of God. Ecstatic bodily changes are manifested from the spiritual plane and are not artificial expressions developed by practice. There are three different stages of development in devotional service. The first stage is that of following the regulative principles described in the codes of devotional service. The second stage is that of assimilation and realization of the steady condition of devotional service. And the last stage is that of ecstasy symptomized by transcendental bodily expressions. The 9 different modes of devotional service, such as hearing, chanting, remembering, are the beginning of the process. By regular hearing of the glories and pastimes of the Lord, the impurities in the student's heart begin to wash off. The more one is cleansed of impurities, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. Gradually, the activities take the form of steadiness, firm faith, taste, realization, and assimilation, one after another. These different stages of gradual development increase love of God to the highest stage, and in the higher stages, there are still more symptoms, such as affection, anger, and attachment, gradually rising in exceptional cases to the Mahabhava stage, which is generally not possible for the living entities. All these were manifested by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the personification of love of Godhead. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, the chief disciple of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these transcendental symptoms displayed by a pure devotee like Uddhava are systematically described. We have written a summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu entitled Nectar of Devotion. And one may consult this book for more detailed information on the science of devotional service. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pasyatyare Sitarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vacha Itaram Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada ends the purport by saying science of devotional service. So science is theory and experimentation, and ultimately conclusion. So bhakti is the science of the soul's relationship with the Supreme Soul. And the ingredients for that is the mood of activity, which is a mood of devotion or surrender, and following the process as given by the spiritual master, by the previous acharyas. When the mood and the activities are blended together, then the conclusion comes according to what is desirable. That is, one becomes transformed in consciousness from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness, or to limited consciousness to expanded consciousness. Spiritual consciousness is expanded consciousness, but it's a gradual process going from stage to stage until one reaches the highest platform, which is love of God. And of course, in all of the activities of devotional service, love of God becomes the actual goal of devotional service. Just like in any activity, there is a goal. The goal of devotional service is love of God ultimately. There is no other second goal than to develop one's natural love of God. And that science is the science of devotional service. Here, Srila Prabhupada gives 3 different stages of that process. Please be quiet. And those 3 stages are: 1, following rules and regulations. What are the purpose of rules and regulations? They're called things to do and things to avoid. Make up these rules and regulations. In the Sanskrit terminology, is called vidhis and nishedas. Ultimately, by following them, one starts to free themselves from material activities and material consciousness. The rules and regulations get you off material platform and situate you on the beginning platform of spiritual life. This is the first stage. Second stage is that through the process of following these processes, such as hearing, chanting, remembering, the 9 stages of bhakti, it's becoming disturbing. Just leave everything the way it is and sit down, please. Okay. Then, as these rules and regulations get assimilated, one starts to become what we say, experiencing freedom from material attachments. In other words, our material desires start to gradually decrease and then ultimately vanish. This is a symptom of devotional service. You can use that as a barometer to see how you are making advancement in devotional service. 1, to see how much you are attached to serving the Lord and performing the activities of devotional service, and how much you're losing your attachment for material activities. such as trying to satisfy the senses of the body in different ways through the process of, you know, connecting with the objects of the senses. And gradually, the second stage is, as it says, simulation and realization. This is a higher stage. And then the last, as it's mentioned here, ecstatic symptoms. Here we're seeing Uddhava. He's remembering Krishna. And because his love for Krishna is so deep, and it's also in the mood of separation, he can't check his ecstatic symptoms. Tears are coming to his eyes, and he's just, all of these bodily symptoms that describe the ecstasies are also manifesting in his body. And Vidura is observing all of this. As Vidura could understand that he had reached the stage of pure love of God. There are two stages of love of God: loving Krishna by meeting Krishna and loving Krishna in the mood of separation from Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us, those in the Gaudiya tradition, the mood of worshiping Krishna in the mood of separation from Krishna. What is that mood? The hankering to be with Krishna through the process of devotional service. We want the association of Krishna. We want the experience of being with Krishna in different ways. And that hankering increases one's mood of separation from Krishna. And as that separation increases, and the hankering to be with Krishna at the same time increases, then these static symptoms start to manifest in the body of a devotee. And of course, Prabhupada goes back to the basics. The process is to hear and chant the glories and pastimes of the Lord. It's interesting, he didn't just say glories, he said pastimes too. If we don't take sufficient time to hear and chant Krishna's pastimes, particularly his pastimes with his intimate associates in Sri Vrindavan Dham, we will never be able to reach perfection in devotional service. And so it becomes actually on the spiritual platform, it becomes a regulative principle to take times to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Today I was giving a lecture to about 400 or 500 Bengalis, and there was translation. And I was trying to think what would really inspire them in the process of hearing. And so I started to tell Krishna's pastimes. And as soon as I did that, the audience started to really tune in to everything I said. And of course, as I was saying it, I was also feeling the inspiration. And that really took the class to another level. And people were really, you could see, I even asked my translator later, he said they were so fixed that nobody was moving except the expressions they were experiencing when they were hearing Krishna's pastimes. So Krishna's pastimes are the pinnacle, as it says, Satam prasangam mamavirya sambido bhavanti ritkarna, rasayana kata. So that rasayana is sweet nectar, kata, that vakya about Krishna's pastimes gives nectar. The ear becomes, excited to hear more, and the heart becomes charmed by hearing Krishna's pastimes. And then, can you go down the page a little bit? As it says here, the more one is cleansed of these impurities, then it says, the student begins, all of these things start to go, and more one becomes fixed in devotional service, becomes steady, faith becomes strong, devotional service becomes fixed, and then gradually one starts to move towards the process of love of God, and different symptoms start to manifest. As Prabhupada says, you develop genuine affection for the Lord, as you have affection for people in this world, or you have affection for some living entity, we also, that natural affection is there within the soul for Krishna. And as it's awakened, one becomes attracted to Krishna and they want to hear more about Krishna. They want to serve Krishna in so many different ways. And they're feeling transcendental joy. And also, one becomes attached. One of some of the symptoms of attachment is that one doesn't want to waste a moment without Krishna. In other words, one becomes absorbed in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord and serving the Lord, that they use every moment of the day to facilitate this process of hearing and chanting. Of course, Prabhupada then goes on to mention the highest stage, which he says it's not possible for the living entities, which is Mahabhava stage. The Mahabhava stage, it's mentioned Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's only 4 persons that have that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimati Radharani, um, Madhavendra Puri, and one other person, I can't remember who it was. So yeah, so this is the process of bhakti. It's gradual, but it's all about hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. We find devotees like to do different services, but they don't take enough time for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. So Prabhupada took so much time, effort, energy, and difficulties, and to present all of this knowledge in the form of his books. And his books, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, are filled with the Lord's pastimes in different incarnations, and finally in the highest manifestation, which is the culmination of Bhagavatam in the 10th canto of Krishna in Vrindavan. And then we have the works of the Goswamis, which are all about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and in different manifestations of those moods of different, in the mood of Sakya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, and a lot about Madhurya Ras. So we shouldn't think, oh, these things are for advanced devotees. No, they're for you because ultimately you want to become advanced. What is your advancement? Your attraction for Krishna. The more that attraction manifests, the more you become purified from material attachment and material activities, and the more you find happiness exclusively. You don't look for happiness anywhere else except in Krishna. And this is the process of devotional service. And Prabhupada gives a very succinct, very summarized form of that process. But there are 9 stages. Rupa Goswami explains those 9 stages. Dastrata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti Nishta Ruchi Shakti Bhava, and ultimately Prema. And in the higher stages, there are many categories within it. Just like in the stage of Bhava, there's 6 categories of levels of Bhava realization, and there's 8 categories of love of God, Prema. So it goes higher and higher and higher. If you want to learn more about the process of bhakti as it goes from stage to stage, most of that is given in a very summarized form in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but in a more expanded form in Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, which he takes the whole process and makes a dialogue between guru and disciple. And then you get gurus being questioned by the disciples answering, and they're gradually going from one level of bhakti ultimately to the highest stages of bhakti. It's interesting. It's a very interesting book because it also has a social setting that surrounds the whole dialogue, which makes it even more interesting. So yeah, that's a recommended book. Srila Prabhupada said we should read that book. Although it's Bhakti Vinod Thakur's book, he said, that one you should read. He emphasized that here. So this whole process is really wonderful. And so if we follow it very carefully, in the beginning, we have to be very conscious of knowing what to do and what to avoid. Welcome home. So we have to know what to do and what to avoid. So sometimes we see devotees they know what to do, but they don't know what to avoid. And because we don't know what to avoid, at least not to a complete degree, but to a large degree, we slow down our process of Krishna consciousness. You have to be very careful not to fall into some of these subtle traps of Maya, which looks like devotional service, but are not devotional service. And Rupa Goswami, in his Nectar of Instruction, tells us sadhuvritti. Sadhuvritti means following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So whatever ashram you're in brahmacharya ashram, you're in grihastha ashram, you're in sannyasa ashram, there are rules and regulations for each ashram. And that helps you to get situated in the ashram and cultivate devotional service in that ashram. So know those sadhuvrittis and know the rules and regulations for your ashram, what to do and what to avoid in every one. And then that is the preliminary stage, but once that becomes fixed, then we start to understand more of the process of devotional service, and it becomes easily understandable what to avoid. It comes by way of realization and by practice also. So there, and Bhakti Rasamatu Sindhu Prabhupada said, you can go down the page even further. He said, we have presented that in the form of nectar devotion in a summary study. So the summary study is not the entire Bhakti Rasamatu Sindhu. It's the essence of Bhakti Rasamatu Sindhu, given in one volume. But Prabhupada commissioned his devotees to actually put out Nectar of Devotion in its full form. And it has just been completed within the last 6 months. It is still available, and soon it'll be available. It's not one volume, it's 5 volumes, and each volume is 700 pages. So there are 3,500 pages in Nectar of Devotion, the actual text of Nectar of Devotion. So that means the science is really, really intricate and deep, but it's interesting. It's easy when you understand what to do and what to avoid. It's difficult when you don't. And the other principle that makes it easy or difficult is that one has to stay fixed in the process. In other words, one should not be deviated by material desires, material attachments like that. Okay, so I mean, we can explain this process in detail. In each of the 9 stages, each has activities and characteristics which define that particular stage. So those who are practicing, they can see what stage they're on. But generally, if we're getting initiated, we're dealing with the next stage, and that is anartha nivritti. Anartha nivritti means getting rid of those things that are blocks in our spiritual life. And if you get too comfortable, you can massage his feet. Okay. Don't fall over though. Okay. See, you can massage his back there, keep him away. There we go. Okay, so what to do and what to avoid is very important in the process of becoming situated. And again, to reiterate, most of us are either dealing with anartha nivritti. There are 16 anarthas, 4 categories. The 4 categories are philosophical misconceptions, attachments to uh, attachments to what is it called? Uh, attachments to pious activities, attachments to impious activities. That's 3 categories, and the last one is offenses. So these are the 4 categories. Each category has 4. So learn those 16. What we say characteristics or activities, and learn how to avoid them or develop them. And then once you get 75% of those anarthas to remove, you can move to the next stage, which is called nishta. Nishta means I'm fixed in devotional service. No matter what situation I'm in, I'm not going to be dissuaded from performing devotionals. In other words, one becomes fixed, not only in their activities, but they're fixed in their devotion to Krishna. Their devotion becomes fixed. Okay, so these are some of the uh, simplified explanations of this very deep and very philosophical process of awakening us, the soul, to the connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That connection is there, but there are blocks in that connection. And those blocks are the attachments that we've developed in the association of material life. Attachments to friends, family, attachments to money, attachments to sense gratification in different forms. Attachments. We get attached. And so the process is meant to, at the same time, awaken our attraction for Krishna and remove the attachments simultaneously. Yeah. So one can do a little inventory and see where they are in the process of bhakti using the 9 stages and the symptoms for each of the stages. Okay, so we can stop there and open it up for some discussion.
Thank you, Maharaj, for enlightening us on the process of bhakti. And it's a
Mm.
deep, like 3,500 pages on nectar of devotion. Looks like very deep
Yeah, the
understanding.
work is finished. It needs to be released now.
Yeah. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, request devotee to raise your hand. You can type in chat window and I will try to read on your behalf. Also, my humble request, accept devotee who are present in Maharaj room. Everybody else can please switch on your video. That will be a very nice way to interact with Maharaj.
We have a question where I am. There's 8 devotees here.
Jai.
One question from
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
Kirti's going to ask the question. Okay, Kirti, go ahead and I'll repeat it.
Maharaj, you mentioned subtle traps of Maya, which looks like devotional service. So what is that? Can you please?
Certain things of Maya that looks like devotional service. It becomes the cheating propensity. People learn the Shastras, but they twist the Shastras to suit their own desires, like quoting half a verse instead of quoting the whole verse. That's one way. Or explaining the verse in a way that it's not meant to be explained. In other words, in the wrong way, like that. People are expert at that. Like, I was just talking to one devotee. He was saying, Krishna says, Eva Chaham, Eva Chaham. So they say eva cha chai eva chai hum means you can drink tea. Eva chai hum. This is what I heard today. We were talking about this, how people twist the Shastras to make their own. It looks like, and it'll be convincing to people who are not very well versed in the Shastras. But that's an example of cheating. Cheating is presenting oneself as being advanced in order to get some recognition from the spiritual master or from others, but actually just making a show of devotional service. If a person knows how to make a good show, it looks like the genuine stuff. Okay. But these things are exposed really when it comes time to perform the actual activities in the right way, and they avoid it, or they give another reason why they can't do it. Yeah. In other words, that's one way. There's another thing called what is it? That's one way of cheating. It's twisting the Shastras or quoting part of the Shastra and not quoting the whole verse in order to get a meaning that out of the first part. For example, in the fifth, go to the Bhagavad Gita in chapter number 5, verse number 1. This is an example of cheating. Fifth chapter, verse number 1. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, first you asked me to renounce work, then you again recommend work with devotion. Can you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?" Next verse. Personality of Godhead says, the renunciation of work and devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work and devotion is better than renunciation of work. So someone will quote the first part. The renunciation of work and work and devotion are both good for liberation, and don't quote the second part. So both they equalize both of those statements, but Krishna finishes by saying work and devotion is actually better than renunciation of work. So quoting half the verse, when people do that, that's a tendency for cheating. First, when Arjuna says, first you ask me to renounce work, and then you recommend work and devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So if you stop there, that means they're both equal. But you have to keep hearing from the rest of the verses. And what does Krishna say in the next verse? The renunciation work and work in are both good for liberation. Yeah, but the two, work and devotion, is better than renunciation. Okay, so you have to quote the whole verse, not half the verse. Or what we say, following rules and regulations for the sake of following and not knowing what is the purpose of the rules and regulations. Or rejecting the rules and regulations and just acting independently and saying it doesn't matter because rules and regulations are for neophytes. I'm above the neophyte platform. So these are forms of cheating that come by way of it looks like devotional service. But only the spiritual master and those who are fixed in devotional service can, notice what is actually beneficial and what is cheating. That's an example. Okay, that was the first question. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, one more question.
Yeah.
Is you said most of the devotees know what to do, but they don't know what to avoid.
Yeah. We don't know what to avoid.
So how can we get to know that?
No, well, you have to know. It's Sanatana Goswami gives the formula. Anukulena pratikul. Anukulena means accepting things that are favorable, rejecting things that are unfavorable, pratikul. So you have to know what is favorable and what is unfavorable. What is favorable for one situation may not be favorable for another situation. Such as preaching to a certain type of people. If you use the same type of preaching to, brand new devotees as you do to seasoned devotees who are fixed, then that means you don't know your audience and you really are just giving something which is not in tune with what educating and inspiring your audience. So you have to know the audience if you're preaching also. Or what we do is like certain things we add to our Krishna consciousness, such as in kirtan, we add certain melodies, we add certain instruments, we add certain tunes that are actually really outside of the process of devotional service. Like Prabhupada said, don't break up the mantra when you chant. So sometimes devotees chant Hare, and somebody goes Hare, Krishna, Krishna. Prabhupada said, no, you chant it straight through. Or sometimes people, they, what is it? There's other ways to do kirtan that are not authorized by the acharyas. So knowing that way you have to hear from spiritual masters. You have to read the books. You have to ask questions to clarify in order to understand. So you can fall into the trap of doing the wrong thing, thinking it's okay. For instance, Prabhupada gives an example of blind following. He said blind following and absurd inquiries are rejected in devotional service. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And you should ask questions that are relevant, not just ask questions for the sake of asking questions. So what was I going to say? I was going to give an example. Okay, there was one story where one veterinarian, he's teaching his student how to work on animals. So he's showing him, at one time, a horse came in and he had a big lump in his throat. So the veterinarian took a rubber hammer, started hitting the lump in the horse's throat, and after some time, the lump was gone and the horse was fine. So now the student becomes the, veterinarian. Now he's beginning his, his occupation. So as the horse comes in with a lump in his throat, then he remembers what his teacher showed him. So he takes the hammer and he starts hitting the horse, and the horse is jumping and screaming. And then he got back to his why did he said, I simply did the same thing you did. He said, you fool, that other horse that I was hitting, he had a watermelon stuck. I was breaking it up so he could swallow it. But that wasn't the same in the second case. So, just seeing somebody do something and doing it the same way doesn't make it right. You have to understand the situation. These are examples. Okay, we got another question there, Vrindavanath.
Yes, Maharaj, there are two questions, one on chat, one Anand Gaurav Prabhu has raised his hand. Prabhu, please go ahead.
Sorry, Hare Krishna Maharaj Pranam. My question is, Prabhupada, in the purport, he mentions that Mahabhava um, is experienced by exceptional people or not by all the living entities. Why is it so, Maharaj? I mean, I thought the goal is prema, but Prabhupada says it cannot be achieved by all living entities.
8 stages of prema. Mahabhava is the final stage, the highest stage. And as I mentioned, there's only 4 people that have it. No, there's only 3 people who have it. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, playing the role of a devotee, Srimati Radharani, who is the internal energy of Krishna, and the third one is Madhavendra Puri. He is a very exceptional personality. He was, in his position in the spiritual world, he's a Kalpavriksha tree, which is a desire tree. So he came to do the work in this world to bring the teachings of Vrindavan into the Sampradaya. When that was Madhavendra Puri, he was the grand disciple of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is grand spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master was Ishwar Puri. Ishwar Puri's spiritual master was Madhavendra Puri. So the life of Madhavendra Puri is really, it's not much about him. He actually came into the Madhva Sampradaya, but we are from the Gaudiya, Brahma Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya also. So yeah, there's just stages of bhakti that are impossible for the ordinary living entities. Not everyone can be a multi-billionaire, but some people make it.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. We have a question on the floor here. So by who? Your name? We have a question by Abhi. So Abhi is.
Well, as you said, we grow in Krishna consciousness from one level to another. But even we go the process, even from the Acharya and Vaishnavas, we are getting so many things. But when we prepare, when we practice, if sometimes personally me, I procrastinate so much. Like, okay, from this point of view, from this point of time, I'll do in so much serious way. So how can we how can we say how can I save us like
How can you stop procrastination in your devotion? When you realize a couple things, one, time is short, you don't have much time. And every moment is valuable. How you use that moment will be either going towards the spiritual or going towards the material. But procrastination can be overcome by associating with devotees who are fixed in Krishna consciousness. So you have his association, he's fixed. So you stay with him and you serve him. Not only stay with him, you serve him and you ask him questions.
and we are saying also you don't accept services. They always say I'm not so but they say we don't accept the services and personal services.
Well, Lokanath Swami didn't accept the service from Narottam Das Thakur, but he did it anyway. So you can sneak around. So yeah. So procrastination is really a quality that nobody appreciates, even in the material world. Because that means there's no enthusiasm for the activity. So you know you have to do it, but you keep postponing it with the idea of thinking that it'll be better later, but it'll become worse later as the more you postpone it. Sometimes we joke, why wait to the last minute when you can wait to the last second? So people, we're like that. We postpone things because the enthusiasm to do it or the importance doesn't really come. But when it comes to Krishna consciousness, procrastination will bring you closer and closer to Maya. It'll make it difficult to overcome material energy. Can't be, procrastination is another example of laziness. The laziness is a very unpleasant quality. Nobody likes a lazy person. Unless you're lazy, what is that called? Lazy intelligent, then that's okay. Then you get everybody else to work and you don't do anything. That's the advanced devotees. They don't do much, but they teach others and they inspire others to do everything. That's called lazy intelligence. But to get to lazy intelligence, you have to be active intelligence for a while. And then you can become lazy later. But yeah, but Prabhupada said lazy intelligence is Krishna. Everybody's serving him, and he's just playing. That's all. Okay, so yeah. Any other questions?
So, yeah, there are 3 questions, Maharaj, in the chat. First one from Prahlad Narsingha Prabhu. He is asking, Guru Maharaj, in the purport, it's mentioned that last stage is that of ecstasy, symptomized by transcendental bodily expression. Symptomized by transcendental bodily expression. How you explain? What does it? Can you please explain what does it mean? Also, Prabhupada mentions that highest form of ecstasy is pain. In pain, we get forgetfulness sometimes. Can you enlighten?
I never heard Prabhupada said the highest form of ecstasy is pain. I can't remember him speaking about that. But he does explain that the love of God has this feeling of unhappiness that comes with it because of the mood of separation. But the bodily expressions are the symptoms. There's 8 symptoms: shivering of the hair, shivering of the body, changing of the color of the body, hair standing on end. What are some of the other symptoms?
Tears.
Tears coming to the eyes. What else?
Rolling,
Hmm?
rolling, floor.
Rolling on the floor?
Oh.
No, that's
Throat choking.
yeah. The voice gets choked up. There are 8 symptoms of bhava. So these symptoms manifest as one develops onto that stage of love of Krishna. Happens automatically. Sometimes devotees on the lower stages exhibit one or more of these symptoms. But it just happens because of circumstance. Circumstances are right, consciousness is right, and when that happens, all of a sudden there's a symptom of ecstasy that will happen. Even neophyte devotees sometimes get that. But when they become more constant, then these are the higher stages of bhakti.
That means I have nothing to eat.
Okay, next question.
Huh?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And when will we eat? 7?
Kirti, shut off your. Yeah, thank you.
I'm muted, Harish. Yeah. Another question is from Daria Mataji, I think. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Maharaj. Regarding the different levels of bhakti, how can we understand our position without being in illusion that we think we have some symptoms? And if we observe cheating propensities in ourselves or others, how should we respond?
Don't cheat. What am I supposed to say? If you know you're cheating, stop it. If you know what you're doing is not right, then you have to, do the right thing. If you're finding fault with Vaishnavas, you should know that's making your advancement in spiritual life stop. So instead of finding fault, look for their good qualities. What was the other part of the question?
How can we understand our position without being in illusion that we think we have some symptoms?
Even though that chord explains, one should know what are the symptoms of each of the stages. He says, if you don't know, then you won't know what stage you're on and what stage you have to get to. He says, if you're developed in a certain way, but you don't know your next stage, and you get stuck on the same stage, then your advancement in Krishna consciousness stops. Should know certain symptoms. Symptoms, just like, for instance, symptoms of ruchi. What is ruchi? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Nakongshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. What was the last time?
Mad bhakti labhate param.
What's the first word of the last line?
Mad bhakti labhate param.
Mad bhakti labhate param. Okay. No sochati, no kangshati. Doesn't hanker for anything material, doesn't lament when something is lost. Prashanatma, he's happy. Atma, prashant means happiness, feels joyful, treats all living entities equally. This is ruchi. The stage lower than that, nishta. Nishta means one who's steady in their practice of bhakti. There you go, from Bhagavad Gita 1854. Joyful. Ruchi means happiness, that happiness which is not dependent on any situation, comes naturally from the soul into the heart, into the mind. One is happy. Are you happy? You're always happy. Anybody here want to protest the fact that they're not happy? All Everybody in my room is happy, so they're all on they're all on Ruchi platform.
They're not satisfied. Not satisfied. Happy we are association.
Me? I'm only happy when I am doing kirtan. I live in that. Okay, so there you go. Another question in the chat. You said
So
three.
there is following question from Daria Mataji. So we should not correct anybody if we see cheating propensities in others.
Correct yourself, and then you won't see cheating propensities others because you're too busy correcting yourself. Stop trying to correct everybody else. Correct yourself. That's the main business. Some people, we also say, if you want to change others, change yourself, and you'll see how others change also. If you want to change others, change yourself. In other words, become better in your own self, and you'll see how other people, you attract people. If you're unhappy or angry, you attract people like that. If you're happy and you'll attract other people who are like that. That energy pulls that same energy towards it. It's
this concept because I didn't understand well. The energy pulls. I didn't understand.
If you're happy, you attract other people who are also happy. Then you have a happy party. If you're angry, you'll notice there's a lot of people around you who are also angry, but that's because you're seeing through your own, what you say, vision. Because you're angry, you're seeing others being in the same way. Atmanam manyate jagat.
There is another question, Maharaj, from Anand Gaurav Prabhu in chat. He's asking, what are the 8 stages and types in Prema Bhakti? Where can you find this information?
Yeah, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's mentioned in different places, also mentioned in Nectar Devotion. What is it? Sneha, Rati, Anurati, I can't remember the 8 stages, nor can I remember the progression of the 8 stages either. But they're listed. They're definitely listed in Jaiva Dharma. They're listed in Nectar Devotion. And they're listed in places throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is it? Rati. Rati means attachment. There's one is called, there's Stai Bhava. Stai Bhava is one of the.
Or this here, Maharaj, which are mentioned, Rati, Prema, Sneha, Mana.
Yeah, that's it. Rati, Prema, Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Ragu, Anuragu, Bhava, and Mahabhava. Yeah. Attraction, love, affection, adverse feelings, intimacy, attachment, sub-attachment, ecstatic love, and sublime ecstatic love. Yeah, thank you. You found it. There you go.
Thank you, Maharaj. Amritanam Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I just share my realization.
If you speak slowly, then we can hear you. If you speak fast, then your internet will break.
Yes, sorry, Guru Maharaj. I'll speak slowly. So, Guru Maharaj, I wanted to share my realization about what you mentioned that when you want to bring changes in externals, first thing you have to try to do is go towards your own internal self. So, I have personally experienced it that however external we struggle with changing, but unless we change, we try to make change in our own self, uh, it hardly works. We only keep struggling in that. So whenever I try to make change in my internals or in work on my own self, then it has manifested that the externals have started taking a change.
Right.
So this is one thing I really have experienced, and I wanted to share with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything starts from the internal. But
Yes.
also, sometimes we say the external, when you practice the external, you bring it into the internal, and then the external also becomes like the internal. There's two types of bhakti. Those who are on spontaneous devotional service, that's internal, and those who are on the external platform, rules and regulations. So we call it esoteric and exoteric. Exoteric is following the external process. Esoteric is imbibing that external process, and now within the mood of bhakti, it manifests internally. Yeah, so you can read that. Esoteric, exoteric.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's nice. You made a nice point. Thank you for making me look better than I usually do.
I know, Guru Maharaj, you always want your disciples to be happy very firstly. So that is one thing I always want, that I be happy when my Guru Maharaj wants me to be happy. So this is one thing I always remember.
Okay, you want to be happy? So let me know how much time you have. I have some more service to give you, which will make you happy.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I'm meeting you in Pune, so definitely you can give me that.
It's coming.
Yes.
Okay, we got another question from Sri Devi.
Mataji, you're on mute.
Well, Sri Devi is going to go first.
Can you hear me now?
If you speak slowly, it'll work. If you speak fast, you break the internet.
Oh, please accept my humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj. All glories to Prabhupada. In this purport, it is mentioned that there are different stages of bhakti. And I would like to know the symptoms of spontaneous, loving, devotional service.
Spontaneous, loving devotional service?
Yes.
Well, that happens on different levels. It can begin on ruchi, it carries up to ashakti, bhava, and prema are all on the platform of spontaneous devotional service. That means natural attraction for Krishna, natural attraction for the activities of devotional service. It's no more just following the principles. It becomes, in other words, you have imbibed those principles and now it's internal. As I mentioned, the exoteric and the esoteric. This is the esoteric. That's spontaneous devotional service. That means you are naturally awakened your attraction for Krishna. When you see a picture of Krishna, sometimes you even cry, or you might feel extremely happy, or some external symptom starts to manifest simply when you come in contact with Krishna in different ways. That's the esoteric. It's internal, it's spontaneous, it's natural, it's the soul's natural attraction for Krishna. If you want to know more about it, you can read Shivaram Maharaj's book, Further Instructions on Spontaneous Devotions. And different symptoms.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Different characteristics of the soul start to manifest. You start to understand gradually who you are in the spiritual world in terms of your rasa. Then, as that develops, you choose an eternal servanthood in the spiritual world in Vrindavan, and you pray to that person. You try to follow in the footsteps of that person by developing the qualities that they have. Such as, say you're attracted to Madhurya Ras. So there's someone in Madhurya Ras that you're attracted to. Salalita, Vishaka, one of Radharani's friends, one of the Manjaris, Rati Manjari, Rupa Manjari. And you read about them, you hear about them. You serve them by learning their mood of devotion. And if that's your rasa, then they will take you deeper into that mood. If it's not your rasa, then they will direct you away from that towards your rasa. So following in the footsteps of a great person, an eternal associate of Krishna in Vrindavan. So that happens usually. Shivaram Maharaj talks about it. He says, it can happen on the platform of Nishta, but it's very rare. He says generally it starts to develop on Ruchi and Ashakti. So then it's not about rules and regulations anymore. You follow the rules and regulations just to give examples to others. There's no need to follow the rules and regulations anymore because you're beyond the rules and regulations. Love of God has only one rule. To show love for Krishna and to receive Krishna's reciprocal love. Krishna Jinika Nam Hai, Gokula Jinika Dham Hai, Aisa Prema Pujare Radhe, Sham Shama Sham. Remember that song? Krishna Jinika?
No.
You remember that song? Krishna Jinika? That's sweet. You start singing these bhajans about Krishna. You start hearing about Krishna's qualities, his activities, his pastimes. These are symptoms of spontaneous devotional service. You lose attraction for other incarnations of the Lord. Want some water? Give him some water. Get him some water. There's some warm water there too. Okay, so yeah, that's some of the symptoms.
Can't wait, Guru Maharaj, to get there.
Yeah. So you're doing your work, but you're thinking, man, when am I going to be done with this work so I can, get into the real nectar? Yeah. We have a question again from.
Yes, Maharaj. It's Jai Radha Madan Mohan Prabhu.
Okay.
It's Can I take this question, Maharaj?
Yeah, and then we have a question right here on where I am after him.
Okay, sure.
Mhm.
Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj, I sometimes get confused in two things. Like as we say, Pranadapi Sunichena, like we have to be very humble to to uh, chant our rounds in the best possible way and to achieve the love of God. So sometimes I get confused that we have to develop love with humbleness. So how can we do that actually? I can't understand how practically I can follow that.
Well, the heart, love softens the heart. The heart becomes, what we say, full of affection for Krishna and for serving the devotees. The heart melts. Otherwise, we have this rock hard heart. We know so much Shastra, but we have no bhakti. That's hard-hearted. So it's not contrary. Love of God can only manifest it in a heart that is open. That means you're simulating all of the qualities that are necessary for your advancement in Krishna consciousness. You're becoming humble, you're becoming tolerant, you're becoming free from attachments to material life, and you're seeing everyone as an opportunity for service. When you see the other devotees, you don't think, what can I get out of them? We can think, what can I do to serve them? These are all symptoms of a heart that's become soft. What's that verse in the second canto? Was it second chapter, second canto? Verse number 24, 2224, I think it is. It's either 2224 or 2324. Let's see. No, that's not it. Go to, yeah, there it is. That's it. Read that.
Certainly, that heart is still framed, which, in spite of once chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fills the eyes and the hairs stand on end.
Leela, I'm in the middle of a class right now. I'll call you back. Okay. So here, even though one experiences some external acceptance symptoms like the eyes become filled with tears, the hair on the body stands still, the heart doesn't change. And then you can read the purport. So, love of God and humility are practically inseparable. Okay.
Maharaj, which verse is that?
This?
Hmm.
This, what verse is that? 2:25? 2:3:25.
2:3:24.
24. 2:3:24. Okay.
Maharaj, there is one question in your room.
Yeah, we have a question from Govardhan.
You said, according to Prabhu's teaching, that we are supposed to follow the rules and regulation, and also we are supposed to know why they are following them, not to follow them blindly. But Lord Chaitanya said there are not strict and fast rule to chant Hare Krishna, and often the devotee extend this concept, which don't care so much about the rule and regulation. For example, if you read the Bhakti Rasamrita Singh, there is such a big list of rules they're supposed to follow.
So he's saying that Lord Chaitanya made that verse. What is it? What is it? What's the first word? Huh?
No.
No. That's the end of the verse. Huh? Nam Akari Bahudani Sarva Shaktis Tatarpita Niyamita Svarne Nakalana. No rules, no regulations, no restrictions. One can chant anytime, any place. But then again, he includes Dordaivam. Dordaivam means still I have no attraction. So you can, in other words, as far as chanting is concerned, there's no requirements for chanting. Anyone can chant. But still, there are principles by which chanting develops, and there's principle by which chanting doesn't develop it. You're chanting with offense, your chanting won't go anywhere. If you're chanting with attachments to material things, then you'll get those material things, but you won't get the results of chanting, which is love of God.
Is especially from what you said, for example, Prabhupada said, don't break the mantra. You made also the example of Prabhupada who said, don't break the mantra. And there are many rules, for example, we should follow the ragas, the right ragas, or play the instrument in the right way. So
the instructions of the spiritual master remains the foundation by which we execute everything in devotional service. So if something is being done one way, but the spiritual master gives an instruction that is contrary, and we should understand it and follow that rather than what other people are following or other traditions are following or what was done in the past. The instructions of the spiritual master remains the foundation for everything we do in devotional service.
But my question is about if it's so important to follow all the rules because there are so many rules, and normally in the Eastern society there are lots of these trying to follow strictly all these rules.
So there are so many rules to follow. How is it possible to follow all these rules? Well, you have to follow the rules and regulations, but then there's another injunction that if you remember Krishna, then and you don't forget Krishna, then all of the rules and regulations fit into that one. There's no other rule and regulation if you're always remembering Krishna. You have to understand, bhakti is being performed on different levels. And for some it's like this, and for some it's not like this. There's two paths. There's the esoteric and exoteric. For those who are beginners, the exoteric path must be followed strictly. Follow the rules and regulations as given by both Guru and Shastra. Until you come to the platform of natural attraction to Krishna, then they may be extra. You don't have to follow. Like also in the Nectar Devotion, it describes 64 rules and regulations. Some of them are don'ts and some of them are do's. But some of them don't apply to every place in the world. Some apply only to India, and some apply to other places. Some apply to certain people who are on certain levels, and some don't apply to others. So you have to know what are those rules. So the essential thing is try to remember Krishna always, or follow the basic rules and regulations. Chant 16 rounds and avoid the 4 sinful activities. If you're doing that much, you're situated nicely. Then reading Srimad Bhagavatam is an injunction. Nasta prayeshu abradrashan nityam bhagavata sevaya. Every day you have to hear Bhagavatam. Either read it or hear it. That's what must be done. Chanting is not optional either. Avoiding the offenses is really the way to maximize the benefit that we get from following the rules and regulations. Because when we commit offenses, then we slow down our own process of bhakti. And if we could commit Vaishnava aparad, then our progress stops until we rectify that offense. So very carefully understand what the offenses are. And this is also part of those 64 rules and regulations. They mention the offenses too. And so avoid them. So basically it comes down to 3 things. Chant the holy name, follow the rules and regulations, and what's the other one? One more.
Avoid offenses.
Yeah, avoid the offenses. That's it. That's the 3rd one. Vaishnava Seva is part of it. Okay, so if you want a summary of bhakti, I can give it to you in one verse. So Vrindavanath, turn to the 11th canto, chapter 19, verse number 20, 11, 19, 20. This is spoken by Krishna himself. He sums up the whole, what is bhakti, in a series of verses, starting with verse number 20. So somebody read 11, 19, 20 to 24. Okay, there you go. Somebody read. Okay, this is everything that you need to know about bhakti.
Firm faith in the blissful narrations of my pastimes, constant chanting of my glories, unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me, praising me through beautiful hymns, great respect for my devotional service, offering obeisances with the entire body, performing first class worship of my devotees, consciousness of me in all living entities, offering of ordinary bodily activities in my devotional service, use of words to describe my qualities, offering the mind to me, rejection of all material desires, giving of wealth for my devotional service, renouncing material sense gratification and happiness, and performing all desirable activities such as charity, sacrifice, chanting, vows, and austerities with the purpose of achieving me. These constitute actual religious principles by which those human beings who have actually surrendered themselves to me automatically develop love for me. What other purpose or goal could remain for my devotee?
So Krishna takes the 64 principles and summarizes them in these 15 that he mentions here. So instead of following 64, you can follow these 15, which is the summary of those 64. This is spoken by Krishna, this verse. So memorize this and understand what each one of them means. And pretty soon you have the whole process of what to do, what to avoid. Both of those categories are found within those 15 principles. We can't get any simpler than that.
Thank you, Maharaj. It's already 31 minutes over, so I think we will try to close, Maharaj, today.
Yeah, I'm going to get in trouble from the authorities. We better stop.
There are no any other questions and no other comments, so maybe, yeah, with your permission, Maharaj, we will close.
No, I have to stop because, Big Brother's watching.
श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय.
For Premanande. All glories to the devotees. Thank you very much. And hope to see you tomorrow for a continuation of this very interesting section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru
Maharaj.
Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.